Hello, honorable students! Welcome, once again, to Mr. Shea's videos. If you're watching this on Thursday, I apologize for uploading this late. My bad. I had a meeting. So, I hope all is well in the land of Europe, wherever you are. Today we're going to be looking at two dynasties, early dynasties, called the Shang and the Zhou. So, what are these dynasties? What are they doing? Who's this fella here? Well, he's an emperor, but we'll get to him in a bit. So the Shang Dynasty arises in the northeast of China, and the capital of which, Anyang, is on this map right here. So it's in certainly the region where we've looked at in last video, but it's up in the Yellow River area, so quite fertile land. And the Shang Dynasty takes over a large piece of land, partially because of which they're able to control the clans. And when you have lots of groups of people, namely these clans, which are a large family, if you recall from the video Mulan, you have the clan in the beginning. So clans often can go to war and can often bicker. So China has a lot of clans, they have a lot of history, and the Shang government was able to keep these clans under control. So they can keep them from fighting with each other and be united. Also, you can keep them united against foreign enemies. So the Shang king was able to keep control with his clans. Also, the Shang armies were extremely powerful due to bronze. And bronze is a combination of copper and tin, which sounds fairly simple. However, the Shang were the first, well, at least among the first civilizations that were able to produce bronze. And bronze is much stronger and resilient, especially when it comes to weapons, than some other metals out there. So this advancement in technology is also able to keep, especially the Shang army, powerful, which they're able to conquer large territories of land. Their battle tactics were also superior to other armies, allowing them to spread out their control. This is one of actually the largest bronze structure. It's actually a sacrificial chamber. It weighs 1,800 pounds, so it is a massive piece of metal. So this is kind of some examples of the workmanship and advancement that the Shang Dynasty was able to make. And Shang Dynasty also had some interesting social classes, where you have nobles, military namely. So the nobles were the highest rank of the social classes for the Shang. We have artisans, so people that are making bronze, making different types of pottery. They're producing some finished products, are second. Then they had some traders who were trading things. The Shang Dynasty was very much known for their trade skills and extent to which they traded across China. And then you had farmers and slaves. So pretty similar to what we looked at for Egypt, where you have nobility, trained artisans and traders, and then farmers and slaves. However, for the next group that we'll look at, you'll see that that is different for our next dynasty. Religion-wise, one of the biggest pieces of the Shang religion, it really centers around this idea of ancestor worship that we've talked about before. And with ancestor worship, they believe dead ancestors have the power to really help you or harm you. So you have sacrifices that you can make to your ancestors, you're giving offerings to them, and really trying to get these spirits to help you. And especially the kings were using things called oracle bones. And these are two examples of oracle bones here. The third example on the right has mysteriously disappeared, which is suspicious for sure. And oracle bones, these ones are made of the shoulder blade of a cow. And they have writing in them, as you can see. And often a holy person would ask a question to the oracle bones. And they would press a hot needle against it, which would cause it to crack. As you can see, these bones are cracked right here. And the pattern of the cracking would determine the answer to that question. So if we had a question, we'd get a oracle bone, we'd have some written script on there, and then we'd break it and see how it broke. So these oracle bones were especially used by the king to determine decisions and answers to questions. So the ancestors would play a hand in how these bones would break. Jade was also a great piece when it came to artwork for the Shang. Jade is extremely valuable today. There's certainly pieces that sell for millions of dollars. And jade is a very hard stone. Often the most prized pieces are the color on the left, which is this faint green. But there's jade in multiple colors. The one on the right is a bear. And the Chinese very much valued jade as a mineral, and especially for artwork. So it became a prized possession. So working on these, craftsmen could make a decent living in selling jade, amulets and other pendants and things. So after the Shang Dynasty, we have the Zhou Dynasty. And if you look at this map here, this is where the Zhou Dynasty spread out. And compared to the Shang Dynasty, it spreads out much further than the Shang. And namely, this is because the Zhou Dynasty was able to take control over different states. They weren't able to keep control for a very long time, but they were able to have great conquest and take over. So you have, namely, the king taking over all this land with soldiers and people loyal to him. And the king is able to justify his power through something called the mandate of heaven, which is really this idea that power is granted by God, or a god. So this mandate of heaven certainly used throughout the world, but especially for the Zhou Dynasty, this mandate of heaven allows the strong leader to take over. This new emperor is able to take over. It restores harmony after whatever war they used to take over. Prosperity reigns. People get angry, taxes get raised, and a new leader takes over, and the cycle really continues. So this mandate of heaven allows leaders to justify why they are taking over and doing what they are doing. And generally, it's pretty effective for the people. So as I mentioned, the system when it comes to social structure for the Zhou Dynasty is slightly different from what we've seen before. We have the king on top, and the king really controls all the land. Then we have nobles, so those two are the same. But what we have under this, it's called a feudal system. And a feudal system means that peasants, people that work on the land, don't own the land. So if we all were farmers, none of us would own the land. We'd essentially pay to work on whoever's land it was, namely the nobles. Which, if you want to get rich as a peasant, you can't. It keeps peasants in their place because they have no upward mobility. They can't move from one class to the other. However, it does give the upper classes a great deal of money because they are simply making profit off of land that they own, and people pay to work their land. So under the nobles, we have peasants, and they certainly do get shelter. They get protection. The nobles will protect them from other warring tribes. They make sure that they are fed. So there is some trade-offs for this feudal system other than owning your own land, which is a bummer. And then we have merchants, which is interesting. So merchants are the lowest class under the Zhou Dynasty for feudalism because they don't produce anything. They're simply selling goods that other people made. So they were seen as not particularly honorable people. They didn't produce anything on their own. They're simply going out and selling things, going to different places. So peasants were actually seen as more important since they're making food than people that would be, in theory, getting rich from selling that. So it is, I guess, a nice idea of peasants are seen as higher than business people.